How's it going, y'all? Before we get into the video, I want to say that this video is proven facts. Or a better way to say this is that it's a vote by the people. This is pre-Scarlet and Violet, so these Pokemon have been around for about 2020, but because Big Google owns everything, we know this is still current. So prior to the new poll coming out for Gen 9, I want to go over what are the best top 10 Pokemon for the people. Now, I'm only doing the top 10 by the people. Maybe your favorite Pokemon is not on this list. So if you want to say what your favorite Pokemon is, put it in the comments down below. And finally, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Pokemon content. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, I know you guys are completely aware that Pokemon is one of the biggest IPs ever. And looking at these Pokemon here, it makes sense why they are on this top 10 list. So if you are interested to see who is number 1, I suggest you stay to the end of this video. But let's get started with number 10. Gengar. Now, Gengar has been around since Kanto, and he's probably the best type in Kanto, period. This Pokemon has been an ace for many trainers, such as the Elite Four Agatha, and also the gym leader Morty. But the interesting part is, after years, the love for Gengar never died. At the time I'm recording this video, Gengar is one of Ash Ketchum's best Pokemon in his team right now. And Game Freak has loved this Pokemon so much over the years, he got a G-Max form and a Mega Evolution. Now, for Gengar as a Pokemon, he is very frail, but his special attack and speed is also very high. You can think of him as a glass cannon. So for the original ghost type Pokemon, it makes sense why he would be on this list, and I don't think people will ever get sick of him. Now, the next Pokemon on this list is kind of a shocker, and that's Gardevoir at number 9. Now, besides the crazy fan service, Gardevoir does get a little bit of spotlight. Just like Gengar, Gardevoir has been inside Pokken and has a Mega Evolution. Now, I'm not saying that Pokken is a great game, but both Gardevoir and Gengar being in Pokken gives them more of a chance to shine. This Pokemon also gets the very new typing Fairy. Now, this Hoenn Pokemon really didn't stand out as much when she first released, but characters like Diantha that came later on use her as their signature poke. So Game Freak's doing a pretty good job pushing Gardevoir as much as they can, and it makes sense why she would be on this list. Now, if Gardevoir is not a shocker, this one is. Bouncing in number 8 is Rayquaza. Now, Rayquaza or Rayquaza, however you want to say it, this is the only legendary Pokemon on this list. Now, the weird part is Rayquaza doesn't have a lot of love to him. I mean, the Pokemon was not in Pokken as a playable character. He doesn't have a trainer that uses him as a signature Pokemon. The only thing that Rayquaza has is his evolution form. But despite that, maybe people love him because he's the definitive edition of the Hoenn region. Pokemon Emerald went dumb. A lot of people remember this in their childhood. Now, maybe Rayquaza will fall off in the future as they introduce more Pokemon, but at least he has made it here in this year. And that brings me to number 7, Garchomp. Now, Garchomp, this might be one of the best pseudos, period. Just like Gardevoir, he has his own Mega Evolution and has been inside Pokken. But the thing is, Garchomp is just a male's wet dream. I mean, he's a land shark, but he's dragon, and also he has Earthquake. You don't know what that does to a kid. Now, good news about Garchomp is I don't see him going anywhere. Because he has such a good offensive and defensive typing, the only thing he has to do is have good stats. And also, he's a shark that's a dragon, so you better love Garchomp too. Next, we have number 6 and 5 going together because they're so similar. Respectively, for 6 and 5, we have Sylveon and Umbreon. Now, to start with Sylveon, she was introduced when the fairy type was introduced, so it makes sense why people still love her. Sylveon was also in the anime, and she was a partner of Serena's. Now, because Serena was so popular, there's no way Sylveon was also not going to be popular as well. Sylveon is a pure fairy and is sometimes marketed as the evolution. But the more weirder pick is number 5, Umbreon. Now, Umbreon came around during Johto, and he wasn't highlighted as much as the other evolutions. Now, Umbreon was featured in the Pokemon Coliseum game, but he was also counterpart to Espeon. And mind you, Espeon isn't even on the top 30 list. Now, I did a full video about Pokemon Coliseum on my channel, so go check that out too. But I don't believe that's the reason that people love Umbreon. Now, he was also a partner of Gary at one time as well. But could it be the bad boy in people and we just love dark type Pokemon? It could be. But regardless, these two evolutions hit number 6 and 5. So now we're rolling into the shocker, number 4, Charizard. Now, let's be completely honest, Charizard is way too low on this list. Charizard has been in Pokken. Charizard has his own Mega Evolution. Matter of fact, he has 2. Charizard also has his own G-Max form. There is not a Pokemon in this franchise Game Freak loves more than Charizard. Matter of fact, Charizard got his first raid boss in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And because you can capture these raid bosses means you can get yourself a Charizard. So in other words, Charizard is in Scarlet and Violet. No other starters except the Gen 9 starters are in this game. Leon uses Charizard and he has never lost a battle in his life. Well, until I showed up. But since we all know Charizard gets so much love, you would expect him to be higher on this list. But no matter what, he will be a staple to this list, so get used to Charizard. Now finally, we're landing in the top 3. And number 3 is Mimikyu. Now this Pokemon being here really doesn't feel right because it doesn't get as much love. The only time Mimikyu got more love was when Jesse and James had their Mimikyu in an anime. Otherwise, Mimikyu doesn't show up in a lot of things. Mimikyu does not have any any type of special form such as a G-Max or an evolution. The best thing Mimikyu has is his ability Disguise, which just acts as a substitution. But other than that, he's literally just a fairy. You could probably argue about his description wanting to be Pikachu to be loved, but that's a very weird reason for him to be top 3. But regardless, people love Mimikyu, so that's number 3. Now number 2 is not a shocker, and that's Lucario. I said earlier that Charizard gets a lot of love, but only second to him is Lucario. This Pokemon has his own movie, he has a Mega Evolution, he's playable in Pokken. Game Freak loves Lucario so much they put him on the front cover of the box arts. Now I'm not saying that Charizard has not been on one, it's just Lucario gets more treatment. On top of that, there's so many trainers in this series that use Lucario as their ace Pokemon, so I don't think Game Freak's ever gonna let go of Lucario. It's just even more surprising that he hits number 2 on this list. But what's not surprising is number 1, and that's Greninja. Now you probably thought I was gonna say Pikachu, but no, you're wrong. Greninja is a new star of starters. He's probably just a little bit over Charizard at this point. Now Greninja is not playable inside Pokken, he does not have his own movie, there is no G-Max form or Mega Evolution for Greninja. The only thing Greninja has that's different from other Pokemon is Ash Greninja. Ash Greninja is a form that's based off of Ash Ketchum inside the anime, and it's surprising because there is no other Pokemon that gets an Ash form. Now I could have mentioned this before, but Greninja, Lucario, and Charizard are all in Smash Bros, so it kind of makes sense why they hit this top echelon. They have more representation. But besides Ash Greninja, Greninja doesn't get as much love as the others, so it is a little surprising to see him as number 1, but he does deserve it. But with that, we will wrap up the top 10 Pokemon voting poll. The Gen 9 voting poll is coming around the corner, so get ready for that. But until then, if you want to see more videos like this and support the channel, go check out the Patreon and subscribe as well. I appreciate y'all watching. More Pokemon content is on the way. Y'all have a good one. Later.